السيدات والسادة الحضور، نختتم كلمات ممثلي المجتمع الدولي بكلمة الدكتور بنديكت أوراما رئيس البنك الأفريقي للتصدير والاستيراد أفريكسيوم بانك، والتي توضح دور مؤسسات التمويل الإفريقية في دعم التحول الأخضر في القارة وتعزيز سلاسل التوريد المستدامة. فليتفضل.
Your Excellency, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Honorable Prime Minister, Deputy Secretary General of the UN, Amina Mohammed, Honorable Ministers, U.S. Special Envoy John Kerry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm most grateful to His Excellency, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, for the opportunity to add our views on a consequential subject which many distinguished speakers have already addressed this morning. We all agree that the climate, our climate, is changing and changing for the worse. Your Excellencies, in about 2 months, we will be in Sharm el-Sheikh under the auspices of the 27th session of the Conference of the Parties to review progress on climate commitments made in the past years and to make more commitments. This means that the topic and the subject matter of the discussions today, which is on implementation rather than pledges, is important. Nothing can be more crucial for Africa because the continent is currently at a crossroad. On the one hand, Africans are the main victims of the excessive carbon emissions that we are witnessing today. Though we contribute the least to those emissions. We are witnessing increased frequencies of extreme weather, drought, flooding, and also desertification. And even, we are beginning to see competition for agricultural land, for water, morphing into political crisis in our countries. And at the same time, the continent suffers from lack of access to finance to develop its energy sector, which is critical in some countries to maintain lives and livelihoods. Striking a careful balance between the two, that is the need for energy as developing our gas resources and also containing the impact of the climate change we are witnessing, is a very tricky one, but very urgent. It is for this reason our President Bank welcomes the opportunity that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement offers as a solution to these twin problems of reducing carbon emissions without damaging the pace of economic development on the continent. To put things into context, the most significant area in which Africa can effect change in reducing carbon emissions is by offsetting wasteful journeys across our oceans. Africa is the world's largest store of minerals and also producer of other commodities, agricultural commodities especially. Everything from copper and iron, ore to cotton, cocoa, coffee, and so on. Most of these commodities and minerals are shipped halfway around the world to other geographies to be manufactured, processed, before being transported back to our continent and to other parts of the world. As we all know, shipping is the third largest emitter of carbon, contributing about 3.1% of global carbon emissions, almost equal to the entire carbon emissions that Africa itself contributes. The regional value chains that the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement promises to promote can reduce up to 80% of carbon emissions that arise from the trading that is currently taking place, the way trading occurs on the continent today. The ensuing regional supply chains that the AfCFTA will promote will make it easier for the continent to grow jobs, reduce carbon emissions, and help also in adaptation measures that many of our countries want to put in place. That is why we hope that the support for the African Continental Free Trade Agreement becomes one of the pillars of the mitigation actions that the COP27 will recommend. It is pertinent to note that a funding of about $8 to $10 billion will be required for the AfCFTA adjustment facility, that is the compensation fund, which is required to make it easier for the least developed countries in Africa to participate effectively under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Let us all commit to putting this program in place in order to sustainably balance the requirements of climate mitigation and the needs of our people. In conclusion, Mr. President, with only a few months left until COP27, it is pertinent to revisit our collective goals on mitigation, adaptation, resilience, and finance, as well as ensuring that while climate action is a universal issue, the way to which we address it must be regionally owned and internationally supported, so that Africa can continue charting the way forward the way it deems appropriate. I thank you for your attention.